In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at the biggest or most common mistakes people make doing the bird dog exercise. So what I'm quickly going to do is just go through what would be correct teaching points, and then we'll visit the 4 most common ones that I find that people are doing. Before we get into that, just quickly mention, if you are suffering with lower back pain, if you are wanting to overcome that lower back pain, have a look at my How to Overcome Lower Back Pain online course and coaching, which you can see in the link below. It covers everything that we're going to be covering this video about the bird dog and so much more. I take you through a full consultation and lower back pain assessment. Then we start building your low back pain rehabilitation program using the online course. So that's coupled my coaching with the online course and online support as well in between coaching sessions. So yes, please do click the link below, find out a little bit more about it. Part 1, we'll quickly just go through, let's just call them the correct teaching points for the bird dog. So what we're going to do, we're going to come down onto all fours, like so. Now what we want, first of all, wrist below shoulders, knees below hips. So we're creating that box. So that's the first thing that we need to do. And we also want the hands to be about shoulder width and the knees to be about hip width. So we've got nice right angles from the front and nice right angles from the side. So that's sort of point number 1. The next thing is we need to make sure we've got that neutral posture. So we don't want to be rounded and we don't want to be extended. We want to have that neutral posture in there. So we may just have to move the hips around, get the spine in position. Then we've got the position that we need. What we can then do is push our hand and knee from the floor. You can turn the thumb up to help guide where the shoulder goes. We're keeping the shoulders level and the hips level. So what we're not trying to do is bring up sort of too high with the arm or too high with the leg or both. We're trying to keep nice level shoulders and hips as we lift. And also what we're trying to do is not sort of lift up and then go. We're just trying to slide away and go into that position. And it's exactly the same as you come back. So we're essentially, what we're looking for are nice straight lines from the front and the back with regards to the knees under the hips and the wrists under the shoulders. When we then start the movement, what we're looking for, nice straight arm and just sliding it up off the floor, and exactly the same with the leg. All the while, when you do that movement, maintaining proper posture of the spine. Common mistake number 1 is hyperextension of the spine, so overextending the spine. So as I mentioned in the sort of intro with the good teaching points or the right teaching points or the correct teaching points, what we want to do is we want to maintain nice straight line, neutral posture through the spine. What I find a lot of people will do is they will lift up too high. So what they're essentially doing with regards to the back muscles, they're creating more tension in there, putting more compression around the spine. That's also then starting to go into both sides because you're hyperextending both sides of the spine. Rather than if we just stay nice and straight, what we've got is much more working through one side of the spine than the other. So we're activating the muscles, but minimizing the stress on the spine. What we're also doing is just having good joint integrity and just maintaining good posture as well. So common mistake number 1 is the over extension, and all it means to correct it is to bring the foot down so it's just off the floor and then just taking the arm to your range of movement. So it's just understanding your range of movement. So if you hear people saying arm needs to be parallel with the floor or leg needs to be parallel with the floor, if you've got the hip range of movement and the shoulder range of movement to do that, then fine. Most people may not, so we just need to manage that with regards to how far we lift up and maintain that neutral posture. Common mistake number 2 is rotation. So this can be linked with hyperextension, what we talk, because you can do both. But what we want to try and avoid, which can come with a degree of instability through the hip, is as we come into our position, what we do is we rotate one way or we rotate the other way. So again, we're not lifting up in that straight line. We've got a rotation one way or the other. So again, it's just thinking about those straight lines from the front and from the side and trying to maintain them. Because again, what we don't want is we don't want one shoulder up above the other, or one hip below the other, or we don't want to be the other way around. We want to be nice and level all the way through the movement, through the spine, and then out through the legs and the arms. Common mistake number 3 is not maintaining the neutral spine. So what we've talked about so far are, again, all the different components that could be creating an unneutral spine, or a not neutral spine, as it were. So what we are trying to do is find that neutral posture first. So we get into that position, and then we just brace the tummy ever so lightly, and that holds us in that position. When we then slide from the floor, we have a much greater chance of maintaining that posture. So, as I've mentioned, we're not overextending, which is taking us out of neutral. We're not rotating, which is taking us out of neutral. We're just maintaining the posture by keeping the arm and the leg from not going up too high. That's going to give us a much more effective muscles working of the core. It's going to give us much more effective stability through the hip as well. So our spine is stable, our hips are stable, we're managing the range of movement. We've got enough activity through the lower back muscles that they're not over compressing the spine and creating unnecessary tension and stress on it, which is potentially going to aggravate our back any more than we need it to. Common mistake number 4 is not creating tension within the abdominals, the lats, and the glutes. So I haven't really talked about this because I've been talking about joint position. But what we do when we come down in, now this isn't sort of an aggressive amount of tension, it's just enough that we can hold everything in place and we can feel when it's coming out of that position. So what basically happens, we set up our box, so our straight lines from the front and the side. We would just then find the neutral posture and just take a little bit of tension in the tummy just to hold that position. What we would then do, as we extend, we come up as far and tense our glute. So we're not coming up too far, we're not staying all the way down, we're just coming up enough that we can feel that there's tension in the glute. And it's the same with the shoulder. So we push the shoulder down into the rib cage, lift the arm, you can even clench the fist. So we come into that position, and what you'll find is you've then got tension through the glutes, tension through the erector spinae group, and then tension through the lats, into the shoulder and down the arm, which is going to be, again, stabilising and bringing greater resilience, robustness, strength, stability to the area. So you get so much more of it by adding that little bit of tension when you lift the arm, hold, make sure you've got the tension. It's not just a case of when there's no real thought that's going into it, because there's so much more to offer from the bird dog that you aren't taking advantage of if you do it in that quite lax way of performing it. So just to quickly summarise the 4 common mistakes that people make with regards to the bird dog. Number 1 is hyperextension, so lifting the hands and the legs too far. Number 2 is rotation, so as you lift, you sort of rotate outwards and the hips don't stay level across and the shoulders don't stay level across. Number 3 is you don't maintain the neutral posture, which can come from the previous 2, or it might just be you're not getting the spine into position at the start and you're starting from a rounded position, and then that is creating a sort of rounded spine into an arch spine, rounded spine into an arch spine as you move. And then number 4 is not creating tension. So when we put the spine in neutral, we just add a little bit of tension into the abdominals, lock the spine in place. As we lift the leg, we tense the glutes, or the glutes should tense as we lift the leg to help stabilise the pelvis. And then as we lift, we screw the shoulder down into the arm down into the shoulder, the shoulder down into the ribs is what I should say, create a little bit of tension through the lats, again giving you that little bit of extra stability, robustness, resilience, stability to the spine, stability to the hip. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's opened your eyes to the bird dog. Again, if you're suffering with lower back pain, you want help with it, click the link below and we can start the online course, coaching and support.